learning English but find it difficult, confusing, even mysterious? Are you an English teacher but find English grammar easier to use than to explain? Well, don't worry. On this show, I'll be your language detective. I'll answer your questions about the English language and help you solve these English mysteries. It's Hard-Boiled English Live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. This is Hard-Boiled English Live. I am your host, Teacher Paul Duke, instructor, coach, tutor, and language investigator. The format of this show is simple. You ask questions, and I answer them to the best of my ability. When I can't answer something, I assure you I'll do the research and come with an answer the following show. So tonight's show is no different. We have a couple of questions to catch up on from previous shows. Let's get going. So for those of you who don't know me, I am the host of the YouTube channel, Hard-Boiled English, Teacher Paul. And we are streaming live from YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, FC2, Africa TV, and soon to be many others. From Vancouver, Canada. I'm on the west coast of Canada, bringing to you development of the English language, investigations into its strange parts, and so on. On my YouTube channel, you can see my main series, which is called English Weirdness. In this series, my students and I explore some of the odd and confusing, contradictory aspects of the English language. I also host a weekly free conversation cafe, and this is a chance for you to join the cafe, practice your English. I'm also available for private lessons. If you need private lessons and are interested, please contact me at my website, teacherpaul.ca, or anywhere on social media we can connect at Hard-Boiled English. Okay, to start with, guys, let's say hello in the comment threads and tell me what country you're from. We have a great community of viewers that watch us from a variety of platforms, and it's the most exciting part for me is getting a sense of where you're watching from. So I'd like to start off by saying hello to Chris from Belgium. She's often the first person to say hello, so it's wonderful to see you. We have Francesco, and I believe Francesco is in Italy. We'll find out soon because he's actually my guest today. He'll join us in a little while. We have Edil joining us from Brazil. We have Bargain Betty from the moon, believe it or not. Bargain Betty lives on the moon. We have Nok, and she's in Vietnam. We have Aiko, now from New Brunswick, formerly of Vancouver. Aiko has recently moved to New Brunswick in Canada. We have Chris in Brazil. Who else do we have? We have Li Ping from Mexico. We have Tun Shen. I'm not sure. Tun Shen, hopefully I'm saying your name correctly. Please tell me where you're from. Who else is joining us? Great to see you all tonight, guys. We'll get the show going in a moment. We have Chris from Brazil. Yeah. Excellent. Okay, Francesco, you've got the link, so stand by. We'll bring you on the show fairly soon. I'm just going to go through a few of our usual segments to start off with. Tun Shen is from Myanmar. Great. We have Vietnam, Myanmar in the house. Excellent. If you're just joining us, guys, please say hello in the comment thread and tell us what country you're from. Excellent. Well, guys, I want to get going today because we have a lot to cover, including introducing you to a guest of mine who will join us in a little while. So the first segment I want to get to is our vocabulary segment. Every week, I like to introduce a new piece of adjective material that you can use to describe things in a positive way. So positive adjectives. And the reason is I find that a lot of students overuse the word good when they describe things. They say, this is good, that's a good movie, that's a good teacher, that's good music, and so on. Good doesn't really tell us much. So I like to introduce more specific vocabulary that you can use, and we'll get you to try it. The word of today is one of my favorites, and it's a funny word, so we're going to have fun with it. Flabbergast. So there's two forms of this, two adjective forms. Flabbergasting, which is the participle form, and we use that to describe something else, and flabbergasted, which describes the person. Okay, so it's a lot like, it's the same dual structure that we have for things like exciting, excited, interesting, interested. The ing describes the thing that makes you feel this way. And it means extremely shocked or surprised. I actually love the sound of this word, flabbergast. It's so funny, so odd. So let me give you an example sentence. I was walking down the street one day and I bumped into, which means I met in a surprising way. I bumped into an old friend. I did not expect to see my old friend. I bumped into him. Oh, hi! And I felt flabbergasted. I was flabbergasted. Now, this adjective describes me and how I felt, right? I was flabbergasted. So now I can point to the thing that made me flabbergasted, which was our meeting, our surprise meeting. Well, let me just change that. Let's say it was the meeting. It was a flabbergasting meeting. Or flabbergasting encounter. Okay, so the encounter was flabbergasting. I felt flabbergasted. It's a funny word, right? It sounds funny. So now, guys, I want you to try to use this. I want you to write a sentence in the comment thread using flabbergasting to describe something like a surprise meeting. You could refer to a soccer score that surprised you. It was a flabbergasting score, so I was flabbergasted. You can describe your friend. She was flabbergasted when she heard the news. Anyways, I want you to try it. So write me a sentence in the comment thread using this adjective, or one of them, one or two of them. Okay, let's try. Your turn. So remember, the ing form can describe a noun, and the ed form should describe you. Let's see what you come up with. And in the meantime, I'll say hello to Martin Chachigoba. What country are you in, Martin? Please tell us what country you're from. Malawi. Great. Great to have you with us. Okay, Chris has an example for us. Chris says, I was flabbergasted finding a present in my letterbox. It was a book sent by my favorite podcaster. Okay, great. Now you should say, I was flabbergasted. Good. Finding, not founding. Finding. Your verb was already tells us past tense. Otherwise, great sentence. Great use of flabbergasted. That's a funny sounding word. Anyone else have an example? Okay, Chris has one. Maria Cristina has a great example here. Let's check it out. His coming here on foot was flabbergasting. Great. So the act of his coming here on foot, maybe a long distance, was flabbergasting. I couldn't believe it. He walked 20 kilometers. Okay, Li Ping has a good answer. She says, I was flabbergasted when I heard his answer. Great. Very surprised, right? Flabbergasted. Also joining us now is Imon Ganguly, I think. Ganguly from India. Welcome. Welcome to the show. Look how many countries we have here. Okay, Aiko has an example. I was flabbergasted when a passenger next to me on the plane was come from the same country as me. Great. Totally surprised, right? Flabbergasted. Great example. Excellent work, guys. Excellent. Anyone else have an example? It's a fun word to play with. Now, oftentimes people ask me, is it common, teacher? Is it normal English? Do a lot of people say it? And my answer usually is, who cares? You shouldn't do something just because it's common or just because it's normal or just because everyone else does it. You should have your own vocabulary and you should have words that you can use that are different, right? So is it common? Probably not. But if you use it, it'll be cool because you'll be surprising people. When you use that word, your friends will be flabbergasted because they're expecting you to say, good. Yeah, it was good. Right? Don't be afraid to be different. We have Roni with us. Roni's joining us from Bangladesh. Welcome, Roni. Roni, we're just working with the new adjective, flabbergasted. I'm flabbergasted to see you, Roni. We have Martin says, I was flabbergasted with his bad comments. Yeah, sometimes on social media, people say mean stuff. I was flabbergasted. Remember, flabbergasted, you can be flabbergasted about bad comments or good comments, right? It just means you're really surprised or shocked. Okay, Chris says, Teacher Paul's Halloween video is flabbergasting. Very good. Actually, let's put that graphic up on screen, if you don't mind, of our Halloween video. 2 years ago, my students and I made this video for Halloween, and I like to promote it every Halloween because it's really good. It's a bit scary, but it's also a good lesson. It examines the use of present perfect grammar, which a lot of students find really scary. So if you go to the YouTube channel, Hard Boiled English, you can find this video. So please check it out. Please subscribe to the channel and enjoy being scared. Okay, we have Wako with us, and Wako says, okay, let's clear the graphic. I watched a Japanese band called Spitz streaming concert, and it was flabbergasting show. Yeah, the show was flabbergasting. So when Wako saw the show, she was flabbergasted. Good sentence. Does anyone else out there like Spitz? Do you know the rock band Spitz from Japan? Okay, Roni says, I am flabbergasting because of being late. Okay, good. Now, Roni, when you're describing you should say flabbergasted. I feel flabbergasted because of that thing, which is flabbergasting. That thing is flabbergasting. So you could say, my lateness is flabbergasting. But you feel flabbergasted. Okay? Excellent work, guys. Good job. I'm going to clear the board, see if any more examples come up. By the way, teachers out there, if you want a nice spray to clear your whiteboard, check out Expo brand. You can get them through the link in the description below. But this is a great product because once you clear the board with it, it dries almost instantly and you can write on your board moments after. Like that, right? Most products don't do that. You have to wait and wait and wait while the board dries. So this is great stuff. And of course, Arteza pens, the best dry erase markers out there. You can also buy them at the Amazon link below. A little bit of sponsorship there. Does anyone else have a sentence example for flabbergasted or flabbergasting? Okay. Let's quickly move on then, guys. I'm going to answer a couple of questions that were given to me. So let's go to the captions and see what we have. Oh, we have someone joining us on Facebook from Colombia, but I don't see your name. So you're probably watching on a Facebook group. If you go to my Facebook profile or the YouTube channel, I can see what your name is in the comment thread. For some reason, When we stream to a Facebook group, it hides your identity. But thank you for joining us. Okay, it's Luza. Luza, welcome to the show, Luza. Thank you for joining us. From Colombia. Luza, I visited Colombia 2 years ago, and it was a beautiful place, beautiful country. I had a wonderful time there. I was only there for 6 days, so it was very short. But I saw some of Bogota and Cartagena. Very beautiful country you have. I want to go back. Okay, let's address our first question. I was told this is not correct. I will start college from September 5th. This is a common question or a common problem. We are past September, so I'm going to say January, just so we can feel like it's our future too. I'm going to change the sentence a little bit. We are in October now, so we know January is our future. So this sentence is talking about the future. I will start. Oh, what will I start? Sorry, guys. I will start college from January 5th. Okay. This is a common problem, and one of my students or viewers said this, and their teacher told them that was wrong. You can't say that in English. And some of you may recognize this error because it does pop up a lot, especially for my Japanese students. And the reason is this word. Okay, in Japanese language, there's a word kara, which you can use like this in a sentence. So when you translate it, it has the same meaning as from. However, in English, we cannot use it like this in a sentence, and I'll show you why. You know, it's important for you guys to learn why we do something or why we don't do something. Because if you understand the reasoning behind it, you can make better choices of your sentences and your words and usage. Okay, I will start college from January 5th. So clearly we're talking about the future. January 5th, this person will start college. Okay. When we use from, we are talking about this. We are talking about from, and it has a relationship in logic with another preposition called to. So for example, I ran from home to work. That's a really simple sentence. I ran from home to work. What does that mean? It means I moved from a place of origin to, there's my office, okay, to a place of destination, right? From to. I ran from here to there. I went from home to the mall. I went from the mall to my friend's house. Whatever. If you are moving from one place to another, these prepositions tell us where you started. And by the way, prepositions connect nouns. So the noun is the origin place to another noun, which is the destination place. And the key is the verb. The verb is a verb of movement, right? It's an action of movement. I ran. And this pattern works for any verb of movement. Ran from home to work. I walked from home to work. I flew from Canada to Brazil. What's another movement verb? I gave my pen to my friend. Sometimes we don't say from because we know where it's from. If I say I gave, clearly it came from me. But I want you to understand this relationship from place to another place. And here's why. In English, we also use this metaphorically to talk about something that is not physical, like home and work. We use it to talk about time. Okay? Because time is a little bit like a journey. So sometimes we talk about time with from and to. I will start college from January 5th. Okay. And college will continue to August 30th, right? So time has an origin point and time has a destination point. So we use the same prepositions. We still need to use those prepositions not with a movement verb, because time doesn't really move, but we have to think about the verb. So let's think about the verb. Let's look closely at the verb in our example sentence. What's the verb? Start. Does start sound like a movement? No. It's a single action in time. On January 5th, I will start college on the 5th. On the 6th, will I start again? How about the 7th? Will I be starting? How about the 8th? Will I still start? No. You start only once. You start college on the 5th. After that, you're not starting anymore. You're attending. So, if you attend, you can attend from January 5th to or until August 30th, because attend is not a single action. It involves a time period. So it's more like a movement verb. But starting only happens once. So starting from January 5th makes no sense. Instead, when you use the verb start, we should say start on. It's one moment. The moment you start college, after that, you're not starting. So you're not traveling in time from to another. Okay? The same problem happens. So attend is fine. I attend college from January 5th to October, whatever. But with start, or how about this one? Enter. I will enter college on the 5th. Because once you enter college, you're now in college. You only enter once, right? Just like a room. When you enter the room, you're in the room. So enter is a single action that happens only once. So we can't use from and to. From and to is used for movement verbs through space, but also time verbs, things that happen over time, like attend, or even the word continue, right? I will continue college from January, right? You could even say study at. I will study at college from January 5th, studying on the 5th. I will also study on the 6th. I will also study on the 7th, and so on. But you can't use start with from, and you can't use enter with from. That's why that sentence is not correct, okay? So that's a great question. I think we have one more. How's our time? Let's go with the last question. That looks like a quicker one. I'll get one more question in here, guys. Okay. What do we have here? This is a very interesting question. How are these different, teacher? Take after, look like, and resemble. I'd also like to say hello to Jasmine. Jasmine's joining us from the United States. Welcome, Jasmine. Okay, we have 3 words. Take after, look like, and resemble. And which a very good question to ask is, what's the difference? First of all, are they different? Well, the answer is yes. I believe very strongly that if we have 2 words or 3, there's different meanings. Because as language evolves through history, if there are 2 words with the same meaning, one of them will go in the garbage. One of them will fall out of use and leave you with 1 word. So it's not really true that synonyms have the same meaning. If you have 2 words and they're synonyms, they have similar meanings, but they're a little different. And that's true here. Okay, take after, look like, resemble. They all are related to how someone looks, basically, right? You might see this. You take after your father. I've actually been told this. So someone who knows me says, and knows my father, they might say, hey, you take after your father. What are they saying? They're saying I might look like him, but they're also saying I might behave like him. What do I take? Well, it kind of means I take genetics, right? I inherit certain genetic characteristics of my father. For example, my father's pretty tall. The rest of my family are shorter than us. So I take after my father in terms of height. But you can also take after someone in terms of their personality, their gestures, whatever. It means you kind of follow them, right? It might refer to appearance, how someone looks. Might not. It can refer to a lot of things. And we usually use this when we're talking about family, right? Because family are connected through genetics. Look like is a little more literal. You look like your father. And by the way, there's no reason why I'm switching colors here. It's just, I'm stupid. Okay, you look like your father. What is that saying? Well, very literally, it's referring to the way I look, my appearance, right? You look like your father. Strictly appearance. Not talking about behavior, not talking about personality, not talking about the way I sound. No, just appearance. Just appearance. Okay? So let's mark this up. This can be appearance, behavior, personality. You take after could also refer to a job you do. If I'm a teacher and my father was a teacher, maybe I took my professional life and choice after my father. It's not true in my case, but it could also be things like that. It could be job, hobby, the school you went to. Some children go to the same university as their parents do. So taking after can describe a lot of things. Look like, only appearance. Okay, strictly appearance. You resemble your father. What is that saying? Well, resemble is talking about appearance. It's another way of saying you look like your father, but it relates to what you can see. So, what can you see? You can see appearance, physical appearance, but you can also see behavior, actions, gestures. So, it could also mean behavior. For example, the way you walk might be similar to your parents, might be similar to your sister or brother. The way you walk, maybe certain gestures that you make, right, might be similar. So you can resemble someone in your gestures or your physical behavior because we can see it. So characteristics that you can see, we can say resemble. Okay? Look like, strictly appearance. It would be strange to say look like in terms of gestures. It's possible because you can see gestures and behavior. But in that case, resemble is probably better. Okay? So take after relates to a lot of things. And the idea is really that it's not about how you look, it's about the relationship, the similarity between you and that person, usually a family member. These two don't have to be family members, right? They could be anything. We can say, you look like, sometimes my wife calls me an egg, right? So I look like an egg. She's not wrong. She's correct. I look like an egg. My father doesn't look like an egg. You resemble a teacher. Paul, you wear a jacket and a shirt. You resemble a teacher. Well, I am a teacher. It's funny how that works. Okay, so hopefully that clears that up. And they're all a little bit different. They all include a little bit of different meanings that we can use, okay? Luz has a good example here. Luza has an example of take after. Take after a relative, yeah. Look after means to care for, right? Yeah, resemble my mother, I have her eyes. Good, good. Yeah, take care of is a very different idea. That's related to healthcare and compassion and helping someone. Okay, guys, I'm going to stop the questions here because we want to use our time with our guest. So I'd like to introduce you to a former student of mine, wonderful guy, very interesting life's journey. And we're going to talk about his English experience, his professional experience, and his travel experience because he's traveled a lot. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to my former student and friend, Francesco Zangarao.
Hi.
Hi,
Thank you.
Francesco.
Hi. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but your image is frozen. Okay, that's better.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you for
Fran-
having me.
oh, my pleasure. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm excellent, thank you. I'm better now that you're with us.
That's great.
Francesco, where are you? Let's start with that.
I am in Holland at the moment.
You're
Yeah.
in Holland and you're
Yes.
working there, right?
Uh, Actually, not yet. I'm gonna start my position in a week or so. Yeah, but I'm about to start to work. Yeah.
And what is your profession? What's your job?
So I work as a consultant in the field of logistics and supply chain.
Interesting. There's a lot
Yeah.
of talk about supply chain these days, isn't there?
That's right. That's right. Yeah,
I
correct.
think it's I think in the last 2 years people have realized, oh, there's a
Yeah,
supply chain in the world.
yeah,
Nobody cared about it before, right?
that's right. I mean, it seems that in the last 2 years, we have not been able to do our job, right? Because first there was COVID, right, and everything was stuck, and then what happened with the with the Suez Canal, where the ships were all there. There was this problem with the ship, right? All of a sudden, again, what's going on? Yeah, supply
Yeah,
chain was
suddenly
not
it's
working. Yeah,
suddenly everyone people are talking about logistics who never talked about logistics before, right?
that's right.
They're at the cafe saying, "Hey, have you heard about the logistics news and
Yeah.
supply chain issues?"
Yeah, yeah, no, but it was also interesting from our point of view, right? Because professionals, and it looked like for years we have been developing certain practices, certain um, activities, and then it turned out that everything was somehow miscalculated because things that we never thought could happen started happening, right? And of course, there
That's
was
interesting.
yeah, there's
So
something
now it
to
sounds
also
like, sorry, go ahead.
no, there's something to consider for the future.
Yeah. Are you having to make a lot of adjustments in your industry? Is it a time of change and adjustments?
I mean, okay, so I did logistics and supply chain management in my previous position. I was a PhD student, and it was related to the automotive environment. And so, in the past 5 to 10 years, there have been major changes. If you think about electric vehicles that now are becoming available, and these, of course, has changed a lot the environment and so yes, there's been a lot of change, and now this COVID situation has brought up new challenges,
Yeah.
and so of course, yeah,
Very interesting. You do a very interesting line of work that affects everyone, but for most people, it kind of happens in the shadows. So
yeah,
most people don't think about it. They just say, like I want new pens. I just go to Amazon and get new pens. I don't think about how they get to me. It's magic.
yeah,
I just depend on the logistic magic, right?
of course,
But I do remember at the start of the pandemic in Canada, there was a big problem getting masks.
yeah,
Suddenly there was no masks available. Well, that's a supply chain issue,
yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, at the beginning of the pandemic, already there was this day one where, for instance, screws. All of a sudden, screws seem to have disappeared, and we didn't know where to find them. We didn't know where to buy them. Uh, that because they were all coming from China, right? 90% of the production was there, and so
Yeah.
companies were really going around and they were saying, "What's going on? I don't have the most elementary thing that there is in the world, right?" Yeah,
Yeah. It's very interesting. Francesco, let's go backwards a little bit.
yeah,
I'd like you to sort of just introduce yourself very briefly to the audience, and then we'll talk about your experience as an English learner and your whole education experience. So, who the heck are you?
yeah. So I'm Francisco Zanghero. I'm Italian. I am 30 years old. Um, so I just finished this position as a PhD student, and yeah. So I think this is a little bit sums up, what I who I
Yep.
am. So in the past, to answer your second question about when I studied English, um, I came to Canada at first in September 2011, and it
Yep.
was for just 1 month, and it was in your previous in the previous school where you were working, right, at
Yep.
ELS, yeah, and I was there for 1 month, and then I came back again. It was February 2012,
Right.
and yeah, and it was in the case it was 6 months. I attended the school, and then I started also studying at Douglas College in New Westminster, that is close to Vancouver. And then I came back again. So this was in between my bachelor's, right, when I was studying industrial
Right.
engineering in Italy. And then at the end of my bachelor, I decided to come back again for 4 months. It was 2014. It was from September to the end of December. So yeah, there was in that case I tried to come back just to become more familiar with the uh, technical English, which I needed sometimes
Right.
for my work. Yeah,
So when you and I met, that was 2014. That was the
that's correct.
third time you had
Yeah,
visited Canada. Third time.
yeah, that's correct. That's correct. I came
Very
back a couple
interesting.
more times uh, for a month because I had friends. I had a girlfriend at that time in Canada.
Ah,
Uh,
yes.
yeah, that's right. But that case was just a month. It was 2015, maybe even 16 when I came back again. But when we met, it was 2014. Yeah.
Yeah. I do recall that when you came back, I think you and I went for lunch or something and talked
Yeah.
about your situation. Yeah. That was
Yeah.
2015, right?
Yeah.
2015.
I guess so. I guess so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And tell me something, Francesco. When you were growing up in Italy, what city, what area did you grow up in?
Hmm. So for the city is very small. It's a town.
Okay.
It's Possagno. It's a very small town. I think where 2,000 people live there,
Right.
and it's 100 kilometers from Venice.
Okay. Yep.
Right? So northeast of Italy, in the boot, right? You have northeast, close to when it attached to the rest of the continent,
Yeah.
just before the Alps. And I grew up in this small town. Of course, my studies they were done. So at first, as I said before, it was in Padua for the University Industrial Engineering. Then after coming back from Canada in 2014, I did some uh, thesis in Germany, Munich, and then also
That's
some
right. Yeah.
yeah. I did my thesis in Munich, and then I also did my PhD in Munich. It was a joint PhD between the University of Munich and the University of Padua.
Oh, nice. That must have been very interesting. I want to get to that in a minute, but I want to
Yeah,
ask a question about
yeah,
growing up in your town.
yeah.
Was English in your town? Did people speak English? Anyone?
Okay, so in Europe we have to differentiate between. Okay, there are two kind of countries. So first of all, we have countries. So Spain, France, Germany, and Italy, and in these countries, you know, in small towns and also for if you apply for a job, they always require the mother tongue, which is of course Spanish, French, 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 German, or Italian. And so in my hometown, nobody speaks English. Nobody even knows it. Um, okay, I mean, I think they just discovered English exists because there was COVID, so they had to put some sign on, keep the distance, but otherwise they don't have it. Whenever you talk about the rest of Europe, so okay, so first of all Scandinavia, Finland, Sweden, and Norway. Then you have Denmark, uh, Belgium, Holland, Luxembourg. These are fairly small countries where the population, I don't think it goes beyond 20 million people for each country.
Right.
And so, if you think about it, there is the metropolitan area of Tokyo has more people than the whole country of Sweden, right?
Yeah.
And so, in that case, yes, I mean, they speak, I mean, even here in Holland, even if you go outside the big city, they speak English fairly well. Even movies in the TV here are in
Hmm.
English.
So when you were growing up, at what point of your education did you start your English? Middle
Okay.
school, high school?
Yeah. No, not even close. I had a problem, which is my mother was an English teacher, and for this I had some form of I don't know, kind of hard feelings toward the language. and I
Yeah.
started actually learning English when I came to Canada in 2011. Before that, I did speak some English, but I wouldn't go anything beyond past simple. So
Right. Very simple
very,
expression,
very
right?
simple, very simple. Because during high school we did study English, but professor would rather talk about anything else rather than English. So it
Yeah.
was a lost opportunity.
Is that sort of resistance to English? Is that political? Like, go to hell, Britain? Is it kind of like
Yeah,
that, Francesco, or is it just annoying? Students don't
I
want to
would.
learn it.
I wouldn't call it like these. I mean, now of course nowadays things are starting to change, and you start to have young people that they are very fluent with English, and they have these situations. The other day I was talking with a colleague of mine that he is 45 and he's not very fluent, and his kid is 14 and he was watching the movie in English, right? And he was like,
Right.
I don't understand the word, and he was, without subtitles. So now things are starting to change. I wouldn't say that there is any form of resistance. Um, um, the difficulty, I think, with my generation is that we considered English as a subject, right? Something that you study in class, but
Yeah.
then you don't usually actually use in real world because
Right.
everything was in Italian, right? You don't have opportunity to speak English, so you keep learning these rules, which you use for the next test, for the next exam, and then you
Yeah.
forget about it, right? Because
It
in
seems
everyday practice,
pointless, right?
yeah, I mean, in everyday practice, don't you don't have the chance to use them.
Yeah. There
You
seems
know,
to be no reason to waste your time studying it.
or but it's not only to waste your time, but you don't even have the opportunity to do it, right? So difficult to
Yeah.
remember, difficult to practice, right? Yeah,
Yeah. Very interesting. When I was in high school, for me, that was math. I knew I had no intention of being an engineer
okay,
or a mathematician, but I had to take math and
yeah,
calculus and algebra. For me, that seemed pointless. Like,
yeah,
where am I going to use this? Even when I was a kid, back in the old days,
yeah,
Francesco, we had calculators.
yeah,
So
right.
math always seemed pointless to me. So I
Hmm.
know that feeling of like your education should be attached to necessity or
Yeah,
some reason to be learning it, right? And
mm,
some chance to use it.
of course.
So you came to Canada. Why did you choose Canada? Why not the USA or Australia or Britain?
No, it was that summer I talked with my parents and we said we need to I need to learn some English because it could be important in the future, and so I said I had never taken a plane before, and I said, okay, you know what? I'm gonna go to Canada because it's far away, so it's a good trip. I'm gonna be for once in the American continent, and that was supposed to be it. That's it. Only 1 month there, and then forget about it. Move on. Keep on studying. But I liked it, and that's why I decided to come back. Right?
Okay,
It was a good opportunity. Yeah.
nice. What did you? Now you were in Vancouver, or
Yeah.
did you travel another part of Canada as well?
No, I think no. It was for that month. I was always in Vancouver.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have brothers and sisters, Francesco?
I do. I have a sister. She's 4 years older than me.
And does she use English also?
Mm, yes. However, in her case, she decided to study it in England. She went to Bristol, if I'm not mistaken, but
Okay.
we're talking about 6 years ago. So yeah, very difficult.
Okay. So now you're in Holland.
Yeah.
Uh, do you use English every day at work, or do you also speak Dutch?
Okay. So I do speak some Dutch, but it's mainly because when I was in Germany, I learned German, and Dutch is very similar to German. I mean,
Right.
uh, written and spoken. Even when I was in Germany, and I had not studied Dutch, uh, I could still understand at least the topic when I heard somebody speaking Dutch. So it's
Hmm.
similar. Um, that being said, I do not use Dutch at all. At 95% of everything is done in English.
Okay. So
99
you,
percent.
yeah, it sounds like it would be, considering logistics and supply chain is an international effort, right? It's an international industry.
Okay, so whenever you talk about consulting, and also I was doing a PhD, 99% of it is done in English,
Hmm.
especially whenever you are at international level. Um, there are certain situations, but this is more related um, engineering, where they speak the mother tongue, like, uh, or not even. I remember when I was in Germany, sometimes a couple of times I had to go to an automotive producer, right? Um, Mercedes, BMW, or whatever, right? And in the shop floor, they were not even speaking German; they were speaking dialect. In the production floor, they were speaking dialect. So in each assembly station, they were speaking maybe station they were all Bavarian, so they will all speak Bavarian dialect. Then the next one, it was all from another region, and they will all speak the same dialect. It was, yeah, it was different.
That's amazing.
But but beside
Yep.
that, consulting and academia, 99% of it is in English.
Right. So you studied in Germany. How did you learn German?
Okay, so uh, I took there was this possibility to take some classes at the universities. There are these classes they go for 2 hours a week or 3 hours a week, something like that.
Okay.
And you take them, and then you work on Saturday morning to make up for the time, right? Uh, Beside, I was in Germany for 3 years, right? So I had time little by little to learn it. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Um, Now, you and I talked a little bit before about some of the. Oh, by the way, you're drinking some nice looking wine.
Mm. I hope you
It's.
don't mind.
I don't. Of course, it's completely. Now, this is interesting because it's like 4:30 a.m. where you are. Is it the
Yeah.
end of your day, or is that how you start your day?
No, it's the end of my day. No, I wouldn't start it with wine. I
Okay,
wouldn't.
I was just wondering. Like,
No, no,
hey, whatever works for you, man. I like to wake up with coffee, but
no.
if wine is your breakfast, go for it, man.
Let's say this way. I do academia. Sometimes I have to attend the conference, especially since the beginning of COVID. The conference they happen the other side of the world, and
Yeah.
uh, and so sometimes I'm used to work at night. Sometimes it happens, and so since this is a more casual opportunity, I'm drinking some wine. Yeah,
No, of course, I'm happy. I'm happy you're drinking wine. I wish I could join you. Uh,
that's good.
Now, we talked earlier about some English mysteries and English things that always gave you a hard time. So I took the suggestions of those words that are very similar. I want to play with them with you. So
Yeah,
if you'll allow me,
sure.
let's get our graphic up on screen because it's a great example of the kind of pronunciations that give people a hard time. Right?
Yes,
We have what do we have? We have custom,
custom. Yeah,
customer, customs like customs office,
okay.
and we have
And we have costume, I guess,
costume. Yep.
and then costumer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did you have a hard time with these when you were learning?
Uh, okay. So funny thing, I I've already asked this question to a teacher, but after a while, simply start to forget about it. And but yeah, because it's it's difficult pronunciation. So it's good that we
Yeah.
started one by one the pronunciation. Sometimes I say I would like to say costumer or costume, and on the other hand I'm saying the other word and the other opposite.
The
Custom.
differences are so small, right?
Yeah, yeah. And then
And
there is one. Yeah,
when you look at it structurally, the word is designed almost the same, just with the O and the U switched.
yeah, yeah,
So I can see how they're very easy to confuse. And this sound here, uh, this sound in English, a lot of languages don't have that. So I know that some language students can't hear that sound. For them, they hear costume, which is the same as that one, right?
yeah.
But this is an custom,
Custom. Yeah,
customer,
yeah.
customer. And then the meaning is different, right? Custom means like a certain cultural behavior or
Okay.
cultural ritual.
Well,
Like
let's
in
go
my
through the meaning.
country,
Let's
yeah,
go through the meaning one by one, if you don't mind.
of course. So a custom
Yeah.
is related to culture. So,
Okay.
like a habit or a ritual related to culture, sometimes religious, not always.
Mm-hmm.
But different countries, different cultures have different customs, things they do. For example, if you go to Japan, one of the customs is to bow when you meet someone. That's a custom. In Canadian business culture, one custom is to shake hands. That's a behavior, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what it means to have a custom. Customer, of course, is someone who buys a product from you,
Mm-hmm.
right? And customs is the part of a government that handles products coming in through the border,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
right? Like when you go to the airport, you have to go through customs to tell them what you brought.
And in this case, it has the final S to distinguish from the other custom, right?
Exactly. Even when it's in front of a noun like office, it's customs office. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not
Okay.
possessive, right?
No.
It's not, they don't own the office. It's not possessive. It's customs because there are many customs.
Yeah.
And you could probably trace the meaning back through history that it is related to this because every culture has their own custom.
Yeah.
And this office at an airport or border is handling products coming from different cultures.
Yeah.
So maybe in the early periods of trade and early economy, 1,000 years ago,
Yeah.
these words arrived. And then we change meaning altogether. Costume, yeah,
Yeah.
is related to clothing. Like an actor in a movie wears a
Yeah.
costume. Batman has a mask and a cape. That's his costume. This is my teacher costume.
Yeah.
If I'm not teaching, I probably don't dress like this.
Mm-hmm.
I might dress like you and have some wine.
Yeah.
Halloween, we put on a costume to
Yeah.
to to very to change our appearance or even to hide it, right? That's a costume.
Yes.
And a costumer is a person who gives you a costume or designs it.
Yeah.
So in a movie, for example, there's an actor who wears the costume,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a department that designs it, builds it, they make it fit nicely. At this time of year in Halloween, there are some stores that sell Halloween costumes for
Yeah.
children. And so we can call that store a costumer because they
Okay.
provide
I did
they
not know that.
provide
That's
yeah,
interesting.
it's like a temporary store we call a pop-up store
Mm-hmm.
just in October. And they
Oh, wow.
sell Halloween products and, toy ghosts and masks for people.
Of course.
So that's all the differences. And
Take note.
yeah, they are a little bit different. Some of them are related, like the first three are sort of related in their meaning.
Mm-hmm.
And the last two are definitely related in the meaning. Costume is the thing, costumer is the person who provides it or makes it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
a
Thank
great
you.
example. A pleasure. Do you have any other words like that you can think of that are
Oh,
very similar?
know that at this moment. I mean,
Yeah.
these are really challenging for me because, yeah, I know that I'm gonna make this mistake probably soon, right? Which is, I'm gonna say costume, but I wanted to refer to the other one, which is the costume, the custom, right?
Yeah.
And so I know that I'm gonna make this mistake, and this is, this is like, a really scary words for me. But no, I cannot come up with other words like this.
Yeah. Probably in your business, this is a frequent
Yeah,
word, right?
yeah,
Customs,
that's right.
because you're dealing
Yeah,
with supplies moving through borders,
that's
or
correct.
maybe some economic
Yeah,
customers.
yeah,
So maybe these two are the ones that you use most. You probably don't use costume often because
yeah,
you're not in
yeah.
the business of Halloween or movies, right?
These 2 years are not very frequent, but the
Yeah.
other two, as you mentioned, are much more frequently used.
And by the way, can you point to costume on your side?
Yeah,
Those two? Yeah. The idea of a costume too is to alter your character.
no,
So it's not related to like your normal fashion. Even if you dress up for a party and you put a suit and tie, I wouldn't call that a costume. we could call that a dress up or an outfit, right? A costume is designed to make you a different person. Like Batman becomes Batman, or Tom Cruise wears a certain costume in a movie. He's not Tom Cruise anymore. He's like Ethan, the character in Mission Impossible, right? So
Right.
the idea of a costume is very theatrical.
Yeah.
It's not everyday life. So when I say this is a costume, it is because I'm performing on a show like this,
Yeah.
or in a way, I'm performing as a teacher. So in that sense, it's a costume. But the way you're dressed, I wouldn't call it a costume. I call it your outfit. The clothes you wear in normal life is an outfit. So if you went to your boss and said, "Oh, your costume looks great today," that would be strange
Yeah. No, of
because
course.
it's not a costume,
It
right?
wouldn't be
Costume is for
considered,
Halloween or movies or drama or theater, or like a musician when they go on stage and they have some feathers coming out of their head. That's a costume to really change their character. So, Francesco, what's next for you? What's going to happen in the next year for you?
Yeah.
What do you
So
think?
I'm
Can you clear
starting
the
my new
graphic?
I'm starting my new position, as I said, in 2 weeks, and I don't make long-term plans. I don't make plans in 1 year because they just never work all the
Yeah.
time. I know I want to do that. I'm gonna do this during this year. Never gonna happen. No, it is like this. I just want. I hope I'm gonna have. I really want to commit to this new job, and then um, there are a couple of things that. So I'm about to finish my Italian PhD. Maybe I will also finish the German PhD. This is something that has to be seen with the university if we can do it. And yeah, so these are things that I can say that in the next 6 months are pretty certain that they're going to happen.
Hmm.
Yeah, everything else we'll have to see. Yeah.
When you get your PhDs, do you plan on going into academia and being a professor at a school,
No,
or you prefer the
no,
work environment?
no. I don't want to say this on camera, but I mean the academia environment is very political, and somehow
Yeah.
um, relationship between colleagues, they're very political. So I don't want to end up in that environment for sure. Actually, I'm trying to step away from it. um,
Yeah, I understand.
um, yeah, yeah.
I hear that from a lot of people. You know, um, in fact, I hear that academia is getting more and more political and problematic.
I mean, because the problem is always this one, which is if you go in academia, right, and then you think about it. Okay, let's pretend tomorrow is going to blow up a bomb in the university, right? What will happen to my career? How will it change? And in academia, there is really no plan B. There is no other alternative.
Yeah,
If tomorrow I work in a company and there is a bomb, I can always apply for a new one. That's okay, no
yeah,
biggie, right? But since the academia is somehow there is governmental funding, right, which is the government provides some money, it's very difficult, to imagine a stable future, even if
yeah,
things start to change, right? Yeah, and so
yeah.
yeah,
Sounds like in business, you are responsible for your future. If you work hard and do good work,
yeah.
you have lots of opportunities, right?
And at the end of the day, you can always say, hey, listen, academia and university didn't work out. I can always try to, in academia, I didn't want to go in academia, right? And I was working a consultant. I cannot do that anymore. I can always go ahead, I'm an engineer. I can always go ahead to teaching, right? Teaching a math class, in high school or something like that, low level, or maybe working in a simple company, not
Yeah,
as a consultant, but and that's still possible, right? If on the other hand, you know, changing, between universities, it's already a nightmare. I mean, you're
hmm,
going through a bunch of paperwork. Even in Germany, I mean, they at a certain point they check your health, because if you're provided a, government contract, then you could have, I don't know, for instance, a heart attack, right? And because of that, you could have retirement. So not very easy to get a
wow,
position, right? If you're a smoker, you're already out. If you're overweight, it's a problem. So it's very
Really.
yeah, difficult. Yeah,
And it seems also very competitive. A lot of people do want those
yeah,
jobs because they sound kind of nice. You just sit around and read and write papers, and sounds like a good life if you can get
yeah.
it. I know what you mean about the paperwork. Right now, I'm working with another professor, helping him edit his applications to a whole bunch of fellowships. And every document is similar, but tiny little differences, and the requirements are just mind-boggling, flabbergasting.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, I know. I mean, also what you mentioned about these things, which is, of course, a lot of people want to get in because, on the other hand, once you get a fixed position, it's very difficult to lose it. If you
Yeah,
want to change it, difficult, but if it's very difficult to lose it, right? If you want to make a change, it's not possible, but difficult to lose it. And so, yeah, of course, in everything there is good and bad, but for me, it's just not my cup of tea. Yeah.
yeah. Well, it sounds like you're doing great things in the work you're doing. Sounds like there's a great, I think it's pretty
Yes.
clear there's a great important future in supply chain and logistics. Clearly, we
Absolutely.
need it. So I wish you the best with that, Francesco.
Thank you.
We're going to have to finish up, Francesco. So I'm going to say goodbye. And above all, I'm going to say thank you for joining us. It's great to see you again. Hopefully, you'll come
Thank
by another time and share your wine with us.
Sure. Thank you for having me. It was a great pleasure.
Pleasure's mine, Francesco. Take care. Stay
You too,
safe. And I'll
guys.
talk to you later, okay? Thanks,
Yeah.
Francesco. Bye bye.
Bye. Bye.
And thank you, everybody, for joining the show tonight. Next week, we won't have a guest. We'll just have some board work, some breakdowns. So bring your questions next week. I'll open the floor to your questions. I'd like to say thank you to Francesco for joining us. It's been a few years since I saw him, and I'm really happy and proud of what he's doing. It sounds like he's doing some really exciting and important things. So, guys, our time is up. My camera is about to melt, and the egg is about to boil. So, I'm going to say thank you. And I'll say thank you to everyone involved here. Chris joined us from Belgium. Thank you. Francesco, of course, from Holland, originally from Italy through Germany to Holland by way of Canada. Thank you, Francesco. Adil joined us from Brazil. Thank you. Bargain Betty from the Moon. We had Nok from Vietnam. We had Aiko, now from New Brunswick, formerly of Vancouver. She's moved. We had Maria Cristina, other Chris from Brazil. Li Ping from Mexico. Now from Mexico, although Li Ping was originally from the USA, in the USA. Tun from Myanmar. Martin from Malawi. Iman from India. Roni from Bangladesh. Luza from Colombia. Thank you for joining us, Luza. Wako from Vancouver. Jasmine from the US. Tirath, our friend from Nepal. Essa joined us from Saudi Arabia. Sorry, I didn't see you earlier, Essa. Nice to see you. And Lam joined us from Vietnam, I think, or Thailand. I think Vietnam. Lam, hopefully I got your country right. Luza says, thank you for I joined tonight. I'm happy I joined tonight. Thank you, Luza. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully I'll see you next time. We will be back here next week, Friday evening, 7 p.m. my time in Vancouver, same time as Los Angeles, west coast of North America. Please join us again. Next week, we'll have more time to cover some questions that you have. So bring your questions next week, bring your English mysteries, and together we'll solve them. Okay? Until that time, guys, please stay safe, take care of yourselves, keep learning English, and until we meet again, stay cool.